Welcome to the Weather Gurus podcast for July the 6th, 2024. I'm bringing you the latest advisories on Tropical Storm Beryl as of the late 8 p.m., 7 p.m. Central Time advisory. Tropical Storm Beryl currently has maximum sustained winds of 60 miles an hour. It's moving northwest now at 13 miles an hour, so it's moving at a pretty good clip, which will bring it to landfall sometime on early Monday morning on the twilight hours, somewhere between Corpus Christi and the Matagorda Bay area of Texas. Now, hurricane warnings have been extended from Corpus Christi all the way up towards the Matagorda Bay and points northeastward. Tropical storm warnings have been extended from the Rio Grande Valley down in the northeastern Mexico and then up in the Houston-Galveston Bay area. Tropical storm warnings are in effect, denoted in blue. So Tropical Storm Beryl right now, as it is on satellite, it continues to make progress northwest at 13 miles an hour towards a rendezvous with the southern or mid-Texas coastline here in a northeast fashion here as it's lined here. You can see most of the convection is pulled to the southwest and west. That's because wind shear has been affecting it. Southerly wind shear has been affecting this storm all day long. Pressure is currently holding at 997 millibars, and the pressure is almost close to 1,000 millibars. And so we don't see that rapid intensification right now, and that's pretty good right now as we head into the nighttime hours for Tropical Storm Beryl. Now, it is forecast to become a hurricane before it approaches the Texas coast here, as you can see. And the models have been pretty good with the track so far while it has entered from the Bay of Campeche on into the Gulf of Mexico. So that's been solidified. All the models are in agreement now that it's going to make landfall somewhere between the Matagorda Bay area, Port Lavaca, down to those areas like that. Sometime early Monday morning as a hurricane, a Category 1 minimal hurricane right now is what they're forecasting. Somewhere wind somewhere between 75 and 80 miles an hour. Now, the other scenario is that there is a warm pocket of water off this coast of Texas here that could provide it with some extra fuel here for intensification. But right now, the Hurricane Center said that it might, it may get up to a high-end Category 1, borderline Category 2. Some think it can get possibly to a Category 3, 111 miles an hour or greater. But we don't know that yet because it hasn't ran up into that, and so far right now it's not forecast to be that. So it's forecast to be a hurricane, yes, but a minimal hurricane here. Most of the models have it at 75 to 80 miles an hour, maybe 85 miles an hour as it approaches the coast here, but that remains to be seen. Now, you notice there's no defined eye structure here as of yet. It's still a tropical storm, and most of the convection now is shifted where it was heavy convection on the northwest side. Now it's shifted more to the southwest side. So it's going to pulse up and pulse down here throughout the night. These convective bursts, as the Hurricane Center called, is going to continue to burst. But the main concern is regardless if it comes in as a Category 1 or a tropical storm, it's going to be for the flooding potential here. And that's going to be a big problem here. Even though now the good news is that looking at the system here, guys, it's a compact system, ladies and gentlemen. So tropical storm force winds only extend out about 125 miles from the center. There is no hurricane force winds associated with this at this time, with a pressure at 997 or 998 millibars currently right now, as you can see here. So this is a firmly in the tropical storm category. It's about 330 miles southeast of Corpus Christi, Texas. They're still in the middle of this, anywhere from Corpus Christi to Victoria to Port Lavaca to those areas, those barrier islands out there need to be on guard, even up through Houston, as the rainfall is going to be the biggest concern here. Like I said right here, this is a new product here, the flash flood risk product here by the National Hurricane Center, and you can see the greatest flash flood risk over the next 5 days is in this red zone here, moderate, at least 40% from just to the northeast of Corpus Christi. So you're talking about the Matagorda Bay area, Victoria, Texas, Port Lavaca, all the Barrier Islands, even including some of the western suburbs outside of the 610 loop of Houston, is up to a 40% chance that you can get rain here, flash flooding events here. So as the system comes inland and weakens down to a depression, and then eventually, just a remnant low, what's left of Beryl, is going to create a lot of rain here. We're talking about 4 to 8 inches, possibly 10 inches locally in some of these areas east of, or just along the I-45 corridor here, heading up towards DFW. They'll get less up there towards Dallas, Fort Worth, and Waco. And this area here, unfortunately, if it came in a little bit more western area, it'll give some much needed rain to Austin and some of these areas back up here in these hill country of Texas that need the rain. They're actually in a drought, but it's coming more at this angle here, and so it's going to that's the potential that we have to watch for there, ladies and gentlemen. Even though it may be just a tropical storm or a minimal hurricane coming inland, that rain potential still there from Houston, Galveston Bay, back west and northwest up here towards Huntsville, Texas, and Waco, up the I-45 corridor, I-35 corridor. Has to watch that on later on Monday afternoon into Tuesday morning, because it can get in here and stall out and create a big problem as far as rainfall totals. And so that's what we have here right now. Now, also, I should note that the system is forecast to become a minimal hurricane. So that means that the storm surge forecast we're looking at is on the order of about I'm just to double check here to make sure, but it's on the order of about 3 to 5 feet or 3 to 8 feet of storm surge could be possible. This is life-threatening storm surge here that could be coming into the area, southeastern Texas coastline. And so far, the system strengthening is expected, but the system is probably going to be doing its intensification probably tomorrow night, not right now, because right now it's still enduring that moderately southerly wind shear. Dry air entrainment is also in training in the system too, and that's indicative of the eastern side here being eroded, of the convection that's eastern, and the southern side of it being their convection being eroded here and not fanning out those high cirrus clouds as you see up here. And also the cloud tops are cold, but not like super cold as they would be in a more intense hurricane, as you denote it by the the darker reds and purples and even the whites on this scan. It only shows, of course, the reds and dark reds, so we don't see that intense. It's a shell of its former self. So, but either way, anybody from the Houston, Galveston area south needs to prepare for heavy rain, squalls, occasional tropical storm force squalls, and then where it makes landfall, of course, right now as a minimal hurricane or maybe possibly getting up to a category 2, they need to prepare for the heavy storm surge, life-threatening storm surge, and also you got to be prepared for those in Padre Island all the way up to High Island, Corpus Christi Bay, Matagorda Bay, like I said, in Galveston Bay. That storm surge is going to come in after the system has made landfall, right to the immediate right of where it makes landfall in east, a 90-degree angle. That's where that storm surge is going to come in there. And so it's life-threatening storm surge. You're at risk. So please check your local products there in Corpus Christi, Matagorda Bay. That's where they're focused on right now for that storm surge to come in, and that's going to be the key thing. Now, the blessing, like I said, the storm surge can be anywhere right here from Mesquite Bay, Texas to Sargent, Texas, 4 to 6 feet, on the order of 4 to 6 feet. That's the highest storm surge that we have. And even storm surge further north, up to St. Louis Pass and Sabine Pass, 2 to 4 feet, and finally from Sabine Pass, Texas to Cameron, Louisiana, 1 to 3 feet, a little bit lesser there. But Corpus Christi Bay is getting 3 to 5 feet of storm surge projected right now by a storm surge product at the National Hurricane Center. So you can see that this is nothing to play with. We can still get a lot of storm surge with a category 1 or category 2 hurricane or tropical storm. Even if it comes in a tropical storm, we still have that bubble of water, because you remember this thing is carrying with it a bubble of water underneath the center of it that we call a storm surge, and that's going to come in off the Gulf of Mexico after it's made landfall. Immediately to the right. Let me go to the graph here. Immediately to the right and east of, that's where the storm surge is going to be pushing all that water, that onshore flow. Initially it'd be an offshore flow here. So let's say it comes in the Matagorda Bay area here, just to the east of Corpus Christi zone here. That means that you're going to get all that water push in there once the system has come inland, and the wind direction switches to a onshore flow there, from a northwest flow to a flow that's coming onshore like that, and it's going to push all that water into the bay. That 4 to 6 feet storm surge, that life-threatening storm surge, is forecast to come into the Matagorda Bay, Corpus Christi Bay, and all of that. Now, of course, the storm surge will be less. The further north you go, the storm surge will be less. Of course, up here by Beaumont, Galveston, Cameron, Louisiana, Lake Charles, obviously 1 to 3 feet is forecast there. But a lot of, remember, we're still under tropical storm warnings from the Houston, Galveston Bay area. So we're going to get a lot of rain from this, because this system right now, as you can see, is the storms right now. It looks like it's trying to wrap around the center. So that area of convection here in the east may pick up as it becomes a hurricane. This convection may fill in here on the east as it becomes a hurricane later Sunday night. It's projected to become a hurricane, a minimal hurricane at that. Now, there is a chance, and many people have been talking about this, there's a chance that it can rapidly intensify as it gets closer to the coast, because the water temperatures here are warm by the coast, off the Texas coast, maybe about 50 to 75 miles off the coast. There's a warm pocket there, a warm eddy pocket there of sea surface temperatures there above 86 degrees Fahrenheit, okay, or above 29 or 30 degrees Celsius. So that means that it has a chance to rapidly intensify before making landfall, and it could get up to, like I said, a high-end category 2, maybe 105 to 110 miles an hour, possibly a category 3 right before it makes landfall somewhere between Corpus Christi and the Matagorda Bay area, or maybe even further to the east, depending on how it wobbles. These things wobble a little bit, in time, as you know. So that's what we're looking at. Just to recap, now I want to go to show you Atlantic-wide picture here. We have nothing going on in the Cape Verde here, islands coming off the coast of Africa. There is another vigorous wave that may be coming off in the next 2 days here. We'll see what happens with that. But some showers in Guyana and Suriname. No showers in the Lesser Antilles and the Windward Islands right now. That tropical wave is pushing through closer to Jamaica, providing showers to the eastern parishes, St. Elizabeth and St. Anne, as well as Kingston, Jamaica. A few showers have erupted there, not related to Beryl, just a tropical wave. And some showers for central Cuba, from Havana, the capital, all the way to westward, and some of the mountains of eastern Cuba as well, getting some much needed rain there as well. Haiti and Dominican Republic, you guys are taking a break from the rain. The Caribbean is clear except that wave, but Central America is starting to experience showers there, kind of like that. Not a Central American gyre is not in place, but this rain is related to that tropical wave there. And so places like Honduras, Belize, Nicaragua, Costa Rica on the western side, getting that heavy rain there up in the mountainous areas there as well, and down along the coast as well. Arnetta, our storm in the Pacific, now is gone. That is dissipated. That was the first named storm of the Pacific season over there, and it's dissipated now to nothing. And so that's been discontinued. All watches warnings have been discontinued. It was nowhere near land, and so that's good. Now back to the Beryl highlight story here. Once again, Beryl is continuing to forecast to be a tropical storm through the night with 60-mile-an-hour winds. Pressure's at 997. It's continued to rise. They found pressure between 997 and 999 millibars, so they took an average of that. The next reconnaissance mission is scheduled to have their be done by about 10 o'clock, 10:30 Eastern time. And then they'll provide the update for us at 11 p.m. the next update. I don't expect too much changes with that because obviously the storm is not, it's not that intensifying yet to a hurricane. So it'll probably be ticked up maybe 5 miles an hour, 65 miles an hour or something like that. But it won't be a hurricane for sure, not yet. It's getting there. It's starting to, wrap around the center. You can see the convection is starting to pull there just a little, but it's still just, the shear is just overcoming it right now. The shear is winning the battle right now over the this warm sea surface temperatures right now, and you can see it's just not looking that healthy as it was earlier today, and so we'll just have to wait and see how things play out. So this is what we got. Like I said, the main thing is going to be the storm surge and the flooding rains with this system, kind of like what Alberto provided. You remember Alberto provided the southern Texas there in the Rio Grande Valley that was flooding. This is what I'm kind of expecting with this system, along with the storm surge that's coming in, the 4 to 6 foot of storm surge is coming in from Corpus Christi and into that Matagorda Bay and all that stuff that could be coming in as well. As well, we do have some showers here associated with this trough here that's undercutting the high pressure here that's consolidating. That may provide some storms with non-severe in Georgia, South Carolina, and the Carolinas. So just want to give you that update there as far as the steering. Now the storm has not slowed down at all that much. It's still moving northwest at 13 miles an hour, and I initially thought that it would slow down as it got close to the Texas coast, but that is not the case. And so I definitely had to make the adjustment there, and I'm sure many others had to too, because this timeline has sped up, and the Hurricane Center has denoted that, and so now it's coming in faster. So it's going to make a landfall probably sometime between 3-4 a.m. Monday morning. It's going to be in there, and then it's going to continue to work its way inland, course weakening as a tropical storm, and then it'll probably be a depression by late Tuesday afternoon. It'll be a depression way up here by Architects, Texarkana, up toward the I-20 corridor there, and as a depression, just bringing copious amounts of rain, in the order of 2 to 4 inches, possibly 5 inches, and that's about it. It'll just rain itself out as it continues up into the Tennessee and Ohio valleys later on this week, according to the graphic here. So the good news is that this is a small, compact system. This is not like a Harvey that came in, or Ivan, or Hurricane Sandy that came in that was massive, 400, 500 mile system. We're talking about a compact system here, only with 125 miles worth of tropical storm force winds. It's trying to consolidate right now and get stronger, and it may very well become a hurricane. But right now, the Hurricane Center and I don't anticipate it growing no more than a high-end Category 1, low-end Category 2. So you're looking at winds maybe between close to 100 miles an hour, or maybe 105 miles an hour before it makes landfall. I don't foresee it becoming a major hurricane, but you never know. It's still some distance here, but it's just running out of real estate. Only about 350 miles away from making landfall now, and moving at the speed it's moving at, northwest at 13 miles an hour. It just doesn't have much real estate to work with. But the storm doesn't need that much real estate to work with, as you know, to become major. And so that's what we're looking at. So be prepared. I would say anybody from just west of the Houston Galveston area down here need to be prepared for the flooding effects that could be possible, because that these places, anytime they get over 4 inches of rain, things start getting a little bit tricky. And those on the immediate coast with the hurricane warnings, you may want to think about evacuating if you're on any of the Barrier Islands from South Padre Island northward, because of the amount of storm surge, which is predicted to be 4 to 6 feet, and that's life threatening. If you're on a low-lying place, you may want to think about coming inland, because it's not good. So that's going to be the main thing of Beryl's legacy in the making its way in Texas, kind of like Harvey. It's going to be the flooding rains. It's not going to stall out, but it's just that you're going to get the flooding rains and you're going to get the storm surge. The winds will die down once it comes in. So whether it comes in as a category 1 or 2 tropical storm, a lot of models have it coming in as a tropical storm, but I believe it will reach hurricane status once again. But the hurricane status, it's running out of real estate. It has 350 miles to go before it has to make impact with the Texas coast in some form or fashion. Now, one other scenario that I didn't talk about here that I want to share with you is that it's possible that the system could skirt along the coast of Texas like this and then make a landfall just east of the Matagoras Bay area and then come in. Okay, so if it does that scenario, yes, it would get up to a category 2, possibly winds at 100 miles an hour. Then they make landfall just east of the Matagorda Bay area. Okay, so that'll be closer to, let me show you on the map here. So right now they have it making a landfall somewhere between Port Lavaca, just to the north of Corpus Christi here, Port Lavaca and Palacios and Matagorda, right? But let's say it skirts the coast. Let's say it starts to look like it's barely coming in, and then it comes up towards Sargent or Freeport and makes a landfall like that, and then comes in like that, and then goes north. Okay, so if it comes in up here, then that means that the storm surge will be affecting more Galveston Island, Capeland, up toward the Galveston Bay. So that's also something to watch out for. So that's why I say it's going to be very close to where it's going to be very tricky to where the landfall actually comes in at. So just be on the lookout if you're in Port Lavaca, Matagorda, Sargent, Freeport. Be on the lookout for that, because it could wobble. This eye could wobble here, the storm could wobble either left or right, and wherever the storm surge comes in immediately to the right, that could be the danger zone, because you got 4 to 6 feet of surge coming in, plus you have the rain falling on top of that, and that could create massive flooding areas here for these areas here. So, and even Corpus Christi, you're not out of the woods yet, obviously, as well. So those are the areas to look for. And then once it comes inland, those areas like Victoria, the west suburbs of Houston, along the Loop and 610, and then the typical flooding areas, you want to prepare for that. Those western suburbs and southwest suburbs of Houston, and down toward the south on I-45 corridor, heading back toward Galveston Island, Galveston Bay, etc. So that's what we have in terms of that. Now, like I said, the timeline here has been sped up tremendously. The system does not appear to be slowing down, and so that means that it's going to come in quicker than anticipated. Once again, it's forecast to become a category 1 hurricane coming in, or a category 2, strong category 2, with winds somewhere between 85 and 95 miles an hour. But if it does rapid intensification, it could possibly get up to 110 miles an hour before making landfall, which would be just under category 3 strength at the maximum. But right now, looking at it right now, it is still fighting that dry air and wind shear, which is not going to subside tonight. It's not expected to diminish until Sunday afternoon. And so because of that, it's not going to just get stronger all of a sudden until that time frame. So everybody's waiting for that to happen, and we'll see what we're working with. But in the meantime, we're counting our blessings, because it's a small, compact system. You only have 125 miles of tropical storm force winds, and the convection has lessened significantly, pulsed down significantly as of the last frame, as it hasn't been so far that much this afternoon. And so for those in Texas, for those of you guys that are in Port Lavaca, Corpus Christi, this is your time to make all final preparations, because storm surge will be a problem there, and will be a problem for areas north as well, from Bayport, all of these areas here, Matagorda, Sargent, Freeport. You guys need to be making those preparations, because you're going to get the storm surge that's coming in here, it's going to be coming in regardless if it's still a tropical storm or a hurricane. When it hits a Cat 1 or Cat 2, you're going to get storm surge coming in there. And so we're just waiting for that landfall point. Like I said, the landfall could be anywhere between Port Lavaca, Matagorda Bay, all the way up to possibly Freeport and Sargent. That could be the landfall spot. That could be the ground zero. And that will push all that water against Galveston Island, Galveston Bay, into there that storm surge, that 4 to 6 storm surge. Now, right now they have it going. The storm surge coming into Matagorda Bay, Port Lavaca area, and the storm making landfall just north of Corpus Christi. That's what the Hurricane Center has it right now, but it could jog and shift. If it shifts a little bit further to the east, then that means that means the areas over here will get the most storm surge, the 4 to 6 feet of storm surge, and then areas to the south will get storm surge too as well, but it wouldn't be as significant. And areas to the south here, once again, South Padre Island, you're not out of the woods. You got storm surge on the order of 2 to 4 feet, life-threatening storm surge, so you should already be evacuate those areas as well, all the way down. You're still going to get those storm surge totals there too, as well, as you can see on the map. So northern Mexico, my friends in northern Mexico, you're out of the woods in terms of getting the worst of this, according to this chart. So, but you're still under a tropical storm warning, and denoted in blue here, just a little corner of northern Mexico, northeastern Mexico there. So if you're in Matamoros, that area down there, Matamoros University, you might want to take just a little precautions there, because tropical storm warning is still under, and you could get some surge on the beaches there too of northeastern Mexico there on the order of 1 to 2 feet. Nothing crazy, but still you want to take the precautions, because you could get some of that surge on the southern side. But we know that the greatest surge, of course, is going to be directly east and south of where that where that center of the storm makes landfall in a 90-degree angle there. So that's just want to bring you the update here. Atlantic wide, we're quiet. Like I said, we're quiet through the rest of the week here. Pacific is quiet. Arnetta is gone. It's dissipated in the eastern Pacific, and we have nothing towards Hawaii. So the name of the game is Beryl, making that landfall early Monday morning, probably sometime between 3 and 4 a.m. Monday morning. Beryl will be making this landfall into the Texas coast, somewhere between Corpus Christi. Back up here, somewhere between Corpus Christi, Rockport, Matagorda Bay, and Port Lavaca. That's the zone, that's the target zone that most people are looking at right now for it to make that impact. And then immediately south and east of that, the storm surge will be coming in like this, 4 to 6 feet of maximum storm surge. And it could be a little bit higher if the system ramps up to a category 2 or 3. It could be on the order of 8 feet max. Life-threatening storm surge. And the winds will die down. Once it gets further inland, it'll go down to a tropical storm and a depression, and then just a remnant low, as they're denoted here on the National Hurricane Center's map. So it's spot on here. It's going into Texas in that area right there. Now, this is a blessing for Houston area, because even though they get the storm surge and they're under a tropical storm warning, they won't feel the main impacts of that storm surge. Now, if it was closer to the Houston area, they will get the storm surge, a maximum storm surge, and they would have got more of the winds. But they're gonna get. But it's also a little bit concerning for Houston, because even though they're not getting the maximum storm surge and all that right front quadrant, if it comes in, it's gonna bring a lot of these heavy thunderstorms that should be coming in, rotating off the Gulf there, and they may prompt that when it does make landfall, it may prompt some tornado warnings issued. That's later on down the road, though, or tornado watches at least issued for the Houston area, Galveston Bay area, once the storm is further inland, though. So we don't have to worry about that right now. The good news is that, like I said, if you're prepared, be prepared for some flooding. Make your preparations. For some flooding here, because the rainfall potential chart, a new product by the National Hurricane Center, shows that we can get up here. It's going to be the maximum, of course, Corpus Christi and the Matagorda Bay, but Houston still is in that yellow zone. So that still means between 4 to 6 inches are possible for the Houston area, both west suburbs, north suburbs, and southern suburbs here, all the way to the Louisiana coast. And you're in that yellow, so you could get between 4 to 6 inches. In Houston, we know you have issues with that, with the flooding sometimes with a couple inches. So you're still going to be in that zone, that target zone, and then denoted in the darker oranges here, that's up to 8 inches of rain coming in there. So not a crazy amount like Hurricane Harvey, but it's still going to be a significant amount of rain for these areas east of I-35 corridor here, and along the I-45 corridor here, heading out of Houston into that orange zone closer to Waco. Some isolated spots may pick up 8 inches here, just east of Waco, and then down in here is going to be the bullseye zone. And then elsewhere, a sharp gradient here. It drops off tremendously. Dallas-Fort Worth area, you may not only get maybe an inch out of this thing, if it comes in like this here, and then it slowly drops off here to nothing here for those along I-20, Abilene, Midland, and those along Austin, and all these places here that need the rain in the drought stricken areas. So this is a sharp gradient here. Flash flooding potential, once again, is the same. There's a moderate chance. This is increased to 40% now for the west suburbs of Houston, heading toward Katy and all those areas like that, okay? And then also toward Corpus Christi, Port Lavaca, all these areas here, Victoria, these areas east of San Antonio along I-10. You want to be careful there. There's a high chance of flash flooding, of at least a 40% chance, and denoted in red. And then it drops off here for Dallas-Fort Worth. You're out of the clear, and some of the northeast places out here, the east places off. If you're on I-20, you're in the clear. It's just going to be general rain, less than 5%. And then, of course, if you're heading toward Louisiana and all these areas, it's just a slight chance, 15%, so it's not as high. And of course, West Texas, you're fine, even though you're drought stricken. You're not going to get a lot of rain out of this system, unfortunately. So that's not with this system here. So once again, the pressure is still holding steady at 997 millibars. It may rise at the 11 p.m. advisory here. We're going to get the 11 p.m. advisory, and that will signal that it's going to be continuing to weaken as it approaches the coastline. And then, like I said, the period for intensification for this storm is going to be Sunday, late Sunday night, Sunday afternoon, and then that'll be it. It'll be done intensifying, and it'll have to make its landfall in the coast here of Texas there. So just to update here. You have any questions? Thank you very much for joining me here on this update, and I look forward